Let's continue the conversation where you know to find us on social media at Channels TV. That's the Channels TV. That's the official Twitter handle for the program, Twitter handle at Bibos. And of course, I'm sitting in today for Harriet Agbe, CTV, CTV Harriet. And of course, you can follow me at Bibos. And of course, you can follow our guest here in the studio, Bismarck Rewane. He's also on social media as well as Financial Derivatives Limited. Just get in there. Click on it and you can join the conversation. But let's continue. What's good news and what's not so good news? Business Rewane is still here. Take us through the list of good news. Yes, external reserves stabilized.
$27 billion.
Yes.
But that covers only about 5 months of imports. Yes, but it's good news in circumstances where the power market went all the way to 400. It's now 322, 321. Okay, good news.
Official window has also been a little bit stable.
Yeah. So corruption and impunity curtailed. People are not stealing as much as there's still stealing going on. There's still corruption everywhere, but not as wild as it was open season during Jonathan's time. Economic diplomacy with China, that's recovering. You know, going back for terms of trade, trade imbalance, and so $6 billion worth of infrastructure deals done. You saw Amichi's thing on railway and Fashala's thing on housing and power. Official price of petrol when you can get it, 86 naira. Official price of petrol when you can get it, but the unofficial price of petrol is anybody's guess. It's 150, 180. Our terms of trade with the rest of the world has improved marginally from 29.1 to 32, but it was 100 in 2005, so it has come all the way down. Now, Lagos Vacancy Factor Index, which means that houses that are vacant in Victoria Island, Ikoyi, and Lekki have gone from up by 65% since January 2015, but it stays flat there. It hasn't deteriorated. Now, what's not so good? The not so good news is that the parallel market at this time last year was 220. Only 20 naira difference between the parallel and the official market. Today, the difference is 122. The parallel market has gone from 220 to 322 in a matter of 1 year. That is significant. That's bad. Oil price was $65 at this time last year. It's now $47 a barrel. But $47, it went down all the way to 27. So 47, we thank God for that. At this time last year, the states shared 409 billion naira. This time, they're sharing 299 billion naira, down by over 100 and something billion naira. Unemployment at this time last year, and unemployment was 24.1%. That is 1 in 4 Nigerians were either unemployed or underemployed. Now that has gone up to 29.2. So 1 in 3 Nigerians are now unemployed or underemployed. Inflation at this time last year was 8.7. It's now 12.8 and trending towards 13.2. In other words, 32.8% of Nigerians were miserable at this time last year. 42% are miserable this year. So they are unhappy.
Yes. So if you put the not good news and not so good news together, let's do a bit of a comparison on a May Day like this, a public holiday in Nigeria. Yes. Millions of people sitting back at home and say, look, now we've heard about the misery index. If you compare the situation, look at the peer group comparison for us. Look at the assessment here. Look at the minimum wage, for example. The UK has moved from minimum wage to living wage because minimum wage is no longer enough to make you a living person.
Yes. Well, look, the unions are asking for 200% increase from 18,000 to 56,000, which is totally unrealistic. The cumulative inflation rate over the past 5 years was only about 48%, right? And the currency has not depreciated by 200%. So basically, it's a negotiating position. But if you take a look at other countries, when you do the peer group comparison, Angola has an unemployment rate of 26%, we have 10.4 before you add underemployment. Minimum wage in Angola, ours is $56 using the parallel market rate. Angola is $91. In Kenya, it's $100 a person. And in Brazil, it's $218. So our minimum wage needs to be reviewed. But it cannot be reviewed outside the context of productivity. Our productivity, labor productivity, actually declined by -0.4. while GDP grew at 2.1, which means that our growth wasn't because of productivity, it was because of the price of oil and the oil production. So, inflation. So, basically, the deal that Buhari got he got a bad deal. That is, it came in at a time when the economy was in a shambles. There's been a lot of waste of time. Activity needed to start. So you can't blame the past for everything. You need to get moving. So I think that's where we are. We are at that stage now where the budget will be signed, investments will come in, there will be some flexibility in policy, because that's the only way to go. If you stay rigidly where you are going to get nothing. The outcomes are not going to be justifying the input into this whole process. So the reality is that let's go to the fact check. The fact check is that today your minimum wage is $56. It was $82 by using the exchange rate when the government came in. Unemployment was 7.5, it's now 10.4. Power output was 3,205 megawatts. It went all the way back up to 5,000, it's now down to 2,000 megawatts. Average temperature is 34 degrees, very hot, humid. The rains have been delayed, but we have not invested in this. Price of diesel was 160 naira when Buhari came to power. It's now $129, 129 naira. So there's a 20% improvement in that situation. And diesel drives the economy. So there's been good news, there's been not so good news, but also there's been a lot of slow movement. It's time to get active. It's time to know that they're urgent things and they're important.
A direct question to you. What do you consider as the minimum wage?
Minimum wage
in Naira and Kobo terms.
As a minimum, you compensate people for the inflation rate. Therefore, if you take 45% of 18,000, so let's say 50%. So you add 9,000 to 18,000, you get something like 27 or 30,000. So you start from that basis to start to discuss about maybe 30,000 naira. But the reality is that the disposable income is more important than just the nominal income. The disposable income comes back to the question is, you say states cannot pay salaries, but the states, you are taking the states' dollars, right? The dollars of the states and the federal government put together and selling it, converting it at 200 naira, whilst they are buying goods priced at 320 naira. So the states could easily ask, give us our dollars, you keep your 52%. If we sell our dollars at 300 naira, we won't need to come and beg you for salaries. We'll be able to pay our salaries. The conversation hasn't got to that, and it will never get to that because there's what they call the exclusive list. However, a rigid exchange rate, what you're seeing today are the symptoms of a rigid exchange rate. You keep on dealing with the symptoms. It's power supply today, it's petrol tomorrow, there are queues here and queues there and queues there. The only time you have queues is when there's a supply inadequacy. Supply inadequacy because people are not investing. People are not investing because they're not sure of what your policy direction is. We've got to go back to the drawing board and deal with things that have to be held rigidly and things that have to be flexible. I'm not going to go into, because the next thing you hear, oh, devaluation. The issue is not about devaluation, it's about adopting a policy that is flexible so that when things improve, all the parameters will appreciate. When things deteriorate, you adjust downwards. It's about adjustment. Nobody stays rigid.
Mr. Rewane, where do you see the quick wins? Today is May the 2nd, technically the May Day in Nigeria because the workers are home. Where do you see the quick wins? Is it the 5,000 naira social safety net? Is it the one lunch a day per school students? Where do you see a quick win?
Let me tell you, well, the quick wins are this. The price of oil has come back up. It's about $46, $45 today. It'll probably stay about that way. That is infinitely better than $27 a barrel. Our production are a major issue. So the government is dealing with vandalism, dealing with piracy and all of that. So that will happen. We will, because of the fight against corruption, impunity will stop, monies will be saved, the budget will be signed in the next few days, spending will start, and borrowing also will start, and then you'll see some economic activity. Because it has been delayed, you're not going to see the results in 2016, but you're going to see positive results in 2017. The future looks bright, but everybody has to make a sacrifice. And those who are holding rigid positions on policy variables that are not necessarily in tune with today, you see, we cannot use 20th century policies in a 21st century digital world. We need to make some changes. We need to be flexible.
So that's your May Day statement.
Absolutely. The future looks bright, but everybody has to make sacrifices. Productivity has to increase. We need to be flexible in our policy environment. We need to be competitive. The narrative has to change from protectionism and patriotism to competitiveness. So the Ministry of Investment and Industry are going to be working on packages. I think you heard the Vice President's speech saying clearly, just give us some time. We know you are hurting, but we need to do things right. That was the purpose of the road show, where the ministers came out to talk. But you see, the thing is that action is what is required. The Nigerian public is tired of hearing potential, hearing about promises. They want results. Results are what matter. Efforts are not relevant. Results are what matter.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rewane. We appreciate your coming on the program.
It's a pleasure.
Bismarck Rewane, Chief Executive Officer, Economist at Financial